Hello, welcome back to Easy Coder, a platform where we learn mobile app development using Dart and Flutter. If you are new here, kindly subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, where I will take you through mobile app development using the Dart language and the Flutter framework. If you are excited, let's get started.
Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell.
So in our last tutorial, we talked about variables in Dart, and we look at some of the examples that we can define in Dart. For a quick recap, let's look at some of the examples. So we said a variable is a container that we can use to hold objects. So if I have a variable called name, then I assign this variable to, let's say, Amma. So now, if I want to see the value of this variable, I have to print name here. So now, if I hit the run button, I should be able to see the name Amma here in my console here. Okay, so now again, let's look at another example before we go into this topic. So let's say if I have a variable called age, then I'll give the age to 23. So now if I want to see the value of this variable age, I will do what? I hope you get the answer right. I will print age, right? So now if I hit the run button, I should see what? My age here, which is what? 23. So this was what we talked about in our last tutorial. If you've not watched the video, kindly go back and watch the first video before coming to this video. So today we are going to look at types, variable types in Dart. And you can see that here we are using the constant var keyword. So we can see that this var is a general container that can hold any object that you have in it. So here you can see that we have Amma, which is a text, or let's say a word in quotes. Here we have age, which is a number, right? We can equally have a variable which holds item price, which holds, let's say, in monetary value, I say 20.4. So you can see that this value here is a number of type double, or a floating number. Are we okay? So variable can hold any type, right? So today we are going to look at types, variable types in Dart. So I'll just put a comment and write variables types in Dart. So now in Dart we have what you call a string, and a string is used to hold values that are in quotes, either single or double quotes. So like this one, for instance, if I want to define this particular variable, then I can say string name is equal to, then I can equally bring double or single quotes, right? So if I can say Kofi, yes, so I can see string name is Kofi. So it means that I'm giving a type of variable. I'm defining the variable type. So I'm saying this variable Kofi is holding a string, which we can see here, right? Yes. So if I wanted to see the value of this name, I have to do I have to print name here. So let me quickly remove this ones here. This is our variable. Let me cut it out. So now we have our string name. So we use what? Strings. Strings are used to hold what? Text or objects in what? In single or double quotes. Are we okay? So now, if I want to see the value of this name, I'll say print, then I'll put name inside, right? And always remember to bring what? Your semicolon after each word expression. So here you can see that if I remove the semicolon, I'll see what? My compiler complaining that expected to find what? Semicolon here. You see? So whenever you are using your that pad, any error that you get in the code, you see the error message here telling you what to do in order to what? To correct that particular error. So always make sure to bring your semicolon here. So now, if I hit run, then I should see what? Kofi here, right? So now, if I define another string, so let's look at another example string. Let's say user name, then I'll be equal to. So this one, this time around, I'll use what? Single quotes. Then I'll put the name of what? My user. So let's say you are building an application and the application requires what? Users to what? Input their names. So you have to create what? A variable that can what? Hold what? The user's what? Name. You see. So if the application is expecting what? A string here, and you put in what? A number or let's say an integer, right? So what? The application will alert you that no, here we are expecting what? A string. Are you okay? Unless you put it what? Maybe I can put 23 here, right? So now this 23, I can call it what? An integer, or I can call it what? A number, because it is what? In quotes. So it is what? A string. Are you okay? So now, if I want to print, so let me remove it back and put the username is Yao. So username is Yao. So if I want to see the value of what? Yao, I have to print user what? Name. Always make sure to check your spellings. User name, right? So if I hit run, I should see Yao here. Yes, we can see what? Our Yao here, right? So this is how we define what? Strings in what? In that, right? Yes. So now let's look at another type, which is what? Integer. So I'll say integer, and they are what? They are types that are used to hold what? Integers, that is numbers, whole numbers, to be specific, whole numbers. So if I have a variable which holds what? Which will hold an integer, then the type is what? Int. Then the name of the variable, so I'll say each is equal to, then I'll say 23, right? So it means that this our age is what? 23. So if I want to see my age, I'll quickly what? Print. I'll put my age inside. So if I hit run, I should see my 23 printed here, right? So this is how we define what? Integers. So now let's try and see if we can use an integer. Let's see item price is equal to 2.3. So now here you can see that my compiler is what? Complaining here that a value of type double can't be what? Assigned to a variable of type int. So it means that this value that we have here, this our value is not what? An integer. right? It is what? A decimal number. So in that we call it a floating number, right? Or a decimal what? Number. So we have what? Types that can hold what? This particular values, right? Just like we have string which holds what? Numbers, or which holds text or objects in quotes, single or double quotes. So now if you are defining an integer, then it's what? You should what? Give the value as what? A whole number, right? So now let me quickly remove this. I'm going to cut it off. So now we have our age. So now you can see that our compiler is not what complaining because we remove that particular code here, right? So now let's look at something here. I want to print, if I want to print what? My name and my age here. So let me print it and explain the code to you, or what is happening here to you. So I'll print and I'll say my name is, then I'll bring dollar sign and say name. I am, I'll bring dollar sign again and bring what? Age. Years old. Right. So let's look at what we have here. So if I run the application, so we are saying what? My name is what? Kofi. I am 23 years old. Now what is happening here? Here, this dollar sign plus the name of the variable is what we call string interpolation, right? So that is combining what? A variable and what? A text. And this my name is just what? Keywords, or that is what? Words that are for text that are put in quotes. Because mind you that this our print statement will print what? Anything that you put into it. So this text, I'm saying my name is, then I bring what? The name here. So now when you run the application, your compiler will look into your code and see, okay, where do we have name? Okay, we have a variable called name here. What is the value of that variable? Is what? Kofi. Then it will replace this what? Name with what? Kofi here. Then it will also look at age. Okay, we have what? A variable here called what? Age. So here this dollar sign simply what? Tell what? The compiler that you are referring to what? A variable that you've declared somewhere. You see. So now if I remove this dollar sign here and run it, it will treat this age as what? A text, but not what? A variable again, right? So now here you can see that we have age printed here. It is no more printing our what? Our variable age here, right? So now if I want to bring it back, I have to bring my dollar sign back here. So now if I run the app again, I should see what? The age replacing what? The variable name, right? So now we have what? 23 here. Okay. So now let's look at the other types that we have. So now we know what a string is, what we can use string to do. We know what an integer is, and what we can use what? Integers to do. So now let's look at the other types that we have. We have another type called double. So now these types are used to hold what? Double numbers. In that we call it floating numbers, or in mathematics you call it what? Decimal numbers, right? So if you want to have a variable whose what? Value is what? A floating number or a decimal number, then it's appropriate to use what? The type double. So if I want to declare a variable, let's say cost price of an item, so I'll say double cost price is equal to, so I can say 23.4, right? So this is what? A decimal number, right? This is a decimal number. So now if I print, so I'll print what? My cost price that I've declared here. And always remember to bring your semicolon at the end of each expression. So if I run the app, I should see what? My 23.4 in my console here. So we have what? 23.4, right? Yes. So now let's look at something. We say integers are used to hold what? Whole numbers. So let's say int item price is equal to, let's say, 3.5. So now here you can see that our compiler is what? Complaining that this variable that we declared here, that's integer, the value that we are assigning to it is what? Is not an integer. It is what? A double. So that's why we have what? A value of type double can't be assigned to a variable of type int. Then they will tell us what? To try changing the type of the variable or casting the right hand type to what? Integer. So it's either what? We change what? The type to what? A double, or we convert this particular value that we have here to what? An integer, right? So let me comment this one. So it means that integers cannot hold what? Floating numbers or decimal numbers. But let's look at a double. Double item price is equal to 20. So now you can see that here our compiler is not complaining. Even though we've assigned what? An integer to it, the compiler is not what? Complaining, right? Why? So it means that we can use what? Double variables to hold what? Integers, right? So when you run like this, the compiler will treat what? This whole number that we have here as what? 0.0, right? So, and in mathematics, we have what? Say any number standing alone is what? 0.0. But because of what? That point, it has no effect on that particular number. So the compiler will negate it. So that's what is happening here. So if we declare a variable item price using what? Double, then we can what? Give what? Assign either an integer or what? A floating number or a double a decimal number to it, right? So double can hold integers and what? Decimal numbers. Are we okay? Right. So now let's look at, so now we know what an integer is, we know what a double is, and we know what a string is, right? So let's try and look at them one by one, example each, before we end this lesson. So what I'll do is here is I'll clear all the codes that I have here. So now I'll start at fresh. So let's see, we are going to be using what? Variable types, because we know that our constant variable that we have here can hold what? Any value. So you can assign what? An integer to it, you can assign a double to it, and you can equal assign what? A string to it. So this is what? This is a general type. Are we okay? Yes. So now we want to use what? The types that we have, right? And it's always what? A good practice to be using what? The variable type that you be assigning to what? Your values. So let's start with a string. So I'll say string name. Let's say item name. Let's say we are selling items. So I'll say item name is equal to, then I'll say rice. right? Then I'll come again and say the price of the item, int item price is equal to, so guess what? So here we have to put what, an integer here, right? So I'll say 23. So now if I want to print what, the item price, so let's say it's the item price, and let's look at doing the cost price of the item. So let's say double cost price of this particular item is equal to, let's see, 20.4, right? So let's change, so let's change this one to selling price so that to make our code meaningful. So the selling price of our item is what, 23, and the cost price is this, right? So now let's print it. So now I want to print it one by one. So here I'll start with what, the item price, and I'll say what, I'll put an expression here. So I'll say item price is equal to, then I'll bring my dollar sign and bring what, item price here, right? So now if I run the application, so always change what, the, so here we have item name, but here I put what, item price. That's why my compiler is complaining here, right? Undefined name item price, because we don't have what, a variable here called what, item price. So I have to remove the item price and bring item name, right? So now you can see that my compiler is happy. So now if I hit the run button, so we have what, item name. So here to have to change to item name. Item name. So let me give some spaces here. If I hit run, then it will change to what, item name here. So we have what, our item name, which is what, rice. Okay, so let's print our item. So you see what, selling price, then I'll bring my string interpolation, then I'll quickly go and copy this one and paste it here, right? And always remember to bring what, your semicolon. So if I run again, I should have the selling price here. So now we have our item price this, our selling price this, right? So I'll wait for 5 seconds to see how we print the cost price. Correct. So let's look at our solution. So I'll print cost price, then I'll bring what, my dollar sign, and bring what, my, copy this one again and paste it here. So now if I run the app again, we should see what, our item price, our item name rice, our selling price is 23, and our cost price is what, 20.4. So now if I want, I can add maybe my unit or my currency. So I'll say Ghana 6. Here too I'll put Ghana 6. Let's run the app again. Yes. So we have our selling price, which is 23 Ghana cedis, and our cost price, which is 20.4 Ghana cedis. So we've come to the end of our session today. If you still have doubts or questions or clarity in what we've learned today, I encourage you to go through the video, watch it again, try the examples. If you have any comments or suggestions, put it in the comment section below. If you are still new here, kindly subscribe to the channel, hit the like button and share to your friends so we all learn together. I hope you enjoy the class. See you next time. Bye bye.
Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell.